Shola, are you there? Can you hear me, Shola?
Could we just project it for the audience here? Toby?
We're live on YouTube and Hi, everyone. Good to have you to few storage providers to Lagos, and we are very opportune and very privileged to have Stuart in the building, the CTO from Picnic, and he will be giving us a deep dive into storage providing. So you're welcome once again, and in the house executives of different storage providers and developers. And so we actually, our aim is to promote the ecosystem here in Africa, and we'll be having subsequent events in different states and different countries within the African ecosystem. So we plan to also have you live here in Africa, possibly in Nigeria, South Africa, or any other place. So we'll give you the floor to take over and while we learn from the wealth of your knowledge. Welcome once again.
Thank you very much. So I have a short presentation, about 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll have time for questions. Certainly welcome those. And if you're okay with it, I can share my screen.
Awesome.
Let's see if this works. How's that? You can see the screen with it says how to become a storage provider.
Yes, we could.
Okay, good. So first thing is I want to introduce Picnic. Picnic is the largest and oldest storage provider in North America. We're currently at a rate of 39 petabytes of data sealed. We've worked extensively with some of the first customers, such as the USC Shoah Foundation. They preserve records of genocides, such as the testimonies, the video testimonies of Holocaust victims from World War II. And we've helped them process and store that data. That's about 4 or 5 petabytes of data. And we also distribute that to a number of other storage providers. So there are multiple copies that are secured around the world. Picnic also has partnered with Protocol Labs and various partners you see in the slide, such as AMD, Seagate, Supermicro, Intel, and others, to provide the enterprise storage provider accelerator, a way for businesses to scale up for large-scale storage with large either companies or large organizations, universities, governments, and other things. The Filecoin network today has 111 petabytes of real data being stored on it, and that's growing extremely quickly. I personally expect the size of the amount of data being stored by the end of the year to be closer to an exabyte. And that's because I'm aware of quite a few deals that are in process for really hundreds of petabytes that are being brought into the network, initially as a proof of concept, but eventually to be stored on the network. So the network capacity is over 17 exabytes, and we're at 111 petabytes of data. We expect that to grow and grow very quickly. So folks who are getting into the network now and being part of the ecosystem are going to have an advantage over those who come much later, I believe. So let me start, for those who aren't familiar with Filecoin. Let's just discuss very quickly what it is. It's this really open set of protocols that everybody can see and inspect, and it powers at least one public blockchain, what we call the mainnet. There are other versions like a test net and calibration net and some other networks for development and testing that don't cost any tokens. And then you could even build a private version in your own laboratory or between yourself and others that is strictly private, but it's the public version that we call Filecoin. This is really a truly decentralized blockchain and protocol, because you as a storage provider can set the pricing and the terms with your data owners and clients, which means a client could come to you and say, look, I want to store this amount of data, but I only want to store it with you and somebody else perhaps. And then you could arrange pricing, both how much to store the data and how much to retrieve the data. That's entirely up to you. We don't set the network doesn't set the pricing. But I'll go into the cost in terms of collateral as we get into the slides. And this blockchain is basically a ledger. Think of it like a notebook that's writing down, but it's immutable. You cannot change once it goes on the ledger and it's accepted on the ledger, it's there forever. So when we seal and store data onto our machines, onto our computers, into our hard drives, and it's successfully sealed properly, that gets recorded on the blockchain. And then as a result of the amount of sectors or data you've stored, you have the ability to earn block rewards. And that's as a result of testing every single day that those sectors, the data that you've stored hasn't changed. So it's validated and verified in a way that doesn't trust the user, it trusts the blockchain, the algorithm. And it's an efficient, energy efficient process. Because of Web3, we embrace those principles. We do this in a transparent and open manner so that customers can see that their data is still safe and all the transactions are visible. And the way that your data is kept safe is through the design of using collateral. And in this case, we use Filecoin tokens or FIL tokens. So when I want to store your data, I have to come up with FIL tokens to guarantee that your data will not be abused or lost. So as the provider, instead of you paying me, I pay into this fund. It's an escrow account to guarantee the safety of the data until the deal expires. Once the deal expires, all that collateral is returned back. In the meantime, I'm also earning tokens through the block reward mechanism. This is independent of any price you charge. So you can charge in local currency. We charge in dollars to store data, plus we also earn FIL tokens. So next thing I want to talk about very quickly is how to become a storage provider in terms of how do you learn about it and some of the other principles. Well, there's many ways. I started as a little do-it-yourself project. So you can see I have a little all-in-one machine there that I used. It cost about $4,000 in terms of the parts. I just checked that the other day in the United States. If I were to buy from eBay and buy from Newegg and some of my normal sources, it would cost me around $4,000 to build the machine. It's a very small, very slow machine, but it's a great way to learn. Since then, I've upgraded to 3 machines that work together that's more efficient and can almost triple the amount of data I can process every day. But it costs a lot more. It's estimated to cost me around $30,000 with those 3 machines. So that's how I got into it. I'm currently running a machine at home here. It has almost a petabyte worth of data now on it, and it rewards me at nearly a block reward per day. It's like 5 per week on average. But there are other ways of learning, right? Protocol Labs sponsors a mentorship program. That's a very short, intense technical training for somebody. Teaches them how to use Lotus. We also, as I mentioned earlier, have put together an enterprise class accelerator. We call that the Enterprise Storage Provider Accelerator. And this helps people really jumpstart whether they're moving from the Web 2 to the Web 3 space or a crypto mining operation to a storage provider operation. This is really suited for those that want to go big into the Filecoin space. And then I've got a bunch of URLs on the right, including our Slack channel, the various websites. YouTube has a lot of interesting information that Filecoin publishes, including a little picture of this solo storage provider tutorial, where you're basically starting at a commercial level with your one independent system. And then all of the material we produce for the Enterprise Storage Provider Accelerator, we call it ESPA, is at that URL. We have videos, we have documents that describe really the whole process. Now, people, especially today with the state of the crypto markets and the US stock market, probably the global economy in general, ask, well, is this a good time to get in? And I said, well, this is a great time to get in. The economics really are in your favor as someone who's starting out. And that's because the cost to fill right now is extremely low, when fill can be the really a high barrier to entry when the price is high. And I give an example of how much it would cost in US dollars for the collateral for 1 petabyte of stored data. Back in June of 2020, when we started, the price was roughly $20 per fill, and to seal 1 petabyte, it was roughly $120,000. Last year, as the price kept going higher and higher, $85, $100, even $200 for a little while, the cost of collateral was almost $500,000. And today, the same amount of collateral for 1 petabyte is costing about $33,000. So it's significantly discounted. And one would ask, well, are we going to see a rebound, right? Are we going to see the crypto markets come back? And personally, I expect them to come back. I think it's just the state of the world right now in terms of uncertainty and concerns is depressing the price of many things. So really, it depends on your economic outlook on the economy. But I think there are 2 factors that are going to push the price even higher than it was before. One is we're onboarding a lot of serious data from companies that are able to store their long-term data, their archival data, at a much reduced cost over what they're used to paying to Amazon or Microsoft or Google. And as the markets, as the analysts, as companies see the value of Filecoin in terms of reducing their cost, the value of that token becomes much higher. It's really not designed to be as a speculative currency where you're just investing like a stock. It's designed to be a token that provides value in terms of how we store data, at least within the network. And then we're adding new features over the next year. FVM is the most important one. It's the Filecoin virtual machine. And this adds capabilities such as smart contracts. And what's extremely exciting is the compute on data. So not only can organizations store their long-term data on the Filecoin network, but they can also use this FVM feature to extract the value out of that information, to be able to go through the data and then determine what's in there. They can determine how to share that with other organizations. And I think that's when it's really going to take off as far as commercial value, as well as research value. So this is a quick overview of the ecosystem. Who are the stakeholders? The diagram is one that Juan Bennett likes to use. So we start in the upper left-hand corner with storage clients. These are data owners. These are organizations that need their data stored. Typically, it doesn't go right to a storage provider. Typically, it goes to an aggregator who processes that into a deal. In some cases, like Picnic, we do that function as well. So we can go to an organization and ingest the data and then encrypt it. We can chunk it into the right size, convert it to a CAR file for ingestion directly into a storage provider. Then there's thousands of storage providers around the world. The key, of course, is not to just store the data, but be able to retrieve it. So there's a new upcoming retrieval market that's being built. Retrieval providers are working on how they can cache it so that you can get very quick retrieval times and have high performance, because today the storage provider, although we can offer retrievals, they're not always really fast. Sometimes it takes a while to, depending on how much data you're trying to retrieve. And then there's an indexing service that helps map the files into the storage providers if it's public data. Other stakeholders that are important out there are the DeFi, the decentralized finance that allows you to borrow, or they will lend, fill out. The other up and coming stakeholder are data DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. These are really collectives that bring together storage providers, the data itself, the data owners, and the fill required for collateral. So by working together, you can reduce your overall cost, you share your rewards, but you have others do some of that work for you in terms of lending and collection of data. When we talk about sealing sectors, this is really a process that takes hours of intense compute power to transform the data into something that can be audited with mathematical precision and encryption. And again, to reiterate, storage providers use fill as collateral to guarantee the safety of the sector for 16 to 18 months today, and then those deals can be extended. A very important concept in the storage provider world is power. And the way we look at power is the amount of sealed sectors measured in bytes. And the more of that you have, the more likely you are going to earn block rewards. And within the power framework, there's two types. There's raw power, that's just how much data is on those disks. And then we have this concept of adjusted power, which is certain data that's been verified as being valuable. It's real data that is of importance to the network that will actually provide 10 times the power of raw power. And it also costs you 10 times as much in the collateral. So as an example, if you have a petabyte of power, you will earn roughly a block reward every day. Today, that block reward is really not very high. It's $130. Last year, the most I ever got for a single block when fill was high was close to $5,000. So you can see that the conversion price really matters if you're going to cash out. However, I think there's some important concepts here. First of all, if you're earning fill, you really don't want to sell when the price is low, and you don't want to buy when the price is high. So like anything, you want to buy when the price is low, sell it when the price is high. So this is really a bad time to sell fill. It's a great time to buy fill or acquire it. A little bit more about fill. How do you get it? Well, you can just buy it. There are exchanges like CoinList and Coinbase and others that'll sell it. You can exchange it in wallets for other crypto, like for Bitcoin or for Ethereum. If you're a developer or you create a program, you can get a bounty from the Filecoin Foundation. I've gotten a lot that way. You can create tutorials. I think they're looking right now for some help with providing some documentation. On the testnet, you can get free fill for that's only good for test. It has no monetary value. It's not valid on the mainnet, but we always recommend you start with testing a system so you can learn about it. And one of the things that is really important to mention is you can also separate the value of fill from the US dollar. What I mean by that is if you need collateral, you can go to a fill lender and borrow fill, use it, and then pay interest in fill. So you're basically borrowing fill and paying back fill, and you're not touching either the dollar or any other currency, because you can just buy and sell fill or borrow fill and pay it back in fill, and you can earn more fill than you pay in interest through the block rewards. So that's one way to decouple it and have a separate source of income where you're selling data storage in local currency, and then the collateral could be a borrowed fill loan. As I mentioned, Fill Plus earns you 10 times the amount of power, and I give an example on my little home unit. Right now, I've got a raw power of about 120 terabytes of data that's being stored and sealed. But because I have a lot of verified deals that cost quite a bit, I get the adjusted power of 900 TIBs, which earns me on average of 5 blocks per week. So quality power, adjusted power is very important, but it does cost more. As I mentioned, to have 1 petabyte worth of fill is about $33,000 if you were to pay in US dollars. If you wanted the same amount, 1 petabyte in verified deals would cost 10 times that. It would be $330,000, but your power would be the equivalent of 10 petabytes, which would yield roughly 10 block rewards per day on average. So there's some real value because you're getting the earning power, you're having to pay for the collateral, but you don't have to have 10 times as much hardware. You don't have to have 10 times the compute space, 10 times the disk. So that's something that people are very, very interested in. So let's break this apart. How much fill you have determines how much you can seal, because you need that fill for collateral. However, on the hardware side, the amount of hardware, the type of hardware you have determines how quickly you can seal it. So do you want something that's going to seal very quickly? That's going to be very expensive. You want something like my small little home unit. It takes longer to seal because it's not as powerful. And I talk here about some of the pieces that make up the Lotus software. You have to have a copy of the blockchain, and you have to sync it. You've got to do your daily testing. There's a scheduler. The storage repo represents the collection of disks. The sealing workers are a one-time process to convert the car files, the data, into sealed sectors. So each sector has to go through the sealing process once. And then if you're handling storage, actual real data, you've got to have a markets node. We call it Boost today, and it does the storage and retrieval deals. Other things you have to have are high-speed network, so you can move that data. Of course, if you're not storing data, you're just doing committed capacity, that also learn block rewards, then you don't need to have a high-speed internet connection. Some of those tasks involved in sealing require CPU with SHA extensions. So that typically is some of the newer AMD chips. You have to have high-speed disks like NVMe to do the sealing, and then high-end GPU and a lot of RAM. We can't do the tasks with less than 128 gigabytes of RAM. Our commercial setups will have 1 or 2 terabytes of RAM, so that gets pretty expensive. The commercial operators have really specialized machines that specialize in a specific task most efficiently. So now you're ready to become a storage operator. You've learned about it. You've figured out the business model. Now you have to have some knowledge. You have to understand Linux. I think it's relatively easy for technically minded people to learn how to use the Linux relative to Filecoin. You have to choose an implementation. Lotus is the one that's oldest and we use. There are some newer implementations that are coming out. Venus, Forest, and Fuhan are also out there. Make sure you plan out your whole operation. What are your goals? How quickly do you want to seal? You're not going to achieve your goals if you don't know what they are. Once you understand it, it's good to plan it all out. Then you've got to put it all together, install it, build it, configure it. And I give some references for places where they can walk you through that step by step. And then after you've tested on the test network, you move it to the main net where you need the real fill and the collateral to actually start sealing sectors. I would start with committed capacity. And then I would move on to using community sources like Estuary and Bidbot, tune everything up so that you're as efficient as possible. And then finally, try to bring on real data where you can charge in local currency so that you're doing this as a business. And your fill is how you operate your machine, but you're not going to generally expose that to the organizations who want to store data. They just care about how much data and how much it's going to cost them in dollars or real currency. An important aspect of all of this, of being a storage provider, is interacting with the Filecoin community. I believe there might be I think Enoch would know whether there's a fill community for Africa. I know we've got one for Korea, for Japan, for China, for North America, for Europe. So, you want to interact with others, get their advice, get their help. As you help them out, you'll find it's extremely rewarding. There's opportunities. You can get data deals. And typically we give those out, just say, hey, I've got an extra petabyte that needs somebody in Africa. Can you seal that for me? And then you end up, getting the block rewards for that. Today, it's still lucrative not to charge anything, just to charge 0 in fill. Although we're recommending that you look at charging external customers. I'll give an example of a customer that came to us and they asked us to store 120 petabytes of data. They basically said, we'd give you $1 million if you'll store 1.4 petabytes of data each month for 7 years. And so aside from all this discussion on fill and the financing on the back end, we were able to look at an opportunity to bring in real cash. A quick word about the Enterprise Storage Provider Accelerator. That's something we talked about a little bit earlier. We're finalizing the next cohort, which is about to kick off in July in Las Vegas. And then we have another one that begins, the fourth one begins in October. So there's a website you can register at, or at least check out what the topic is. We publish, you can see the videos and the documentation. Now we're also looking at a mobile version that we can have travel around the world that's much more basic, kind of like what you're hearing today, except instead of 40 minutes, maybe or 20 minutes, we'd do it in a day or day and a half. So that's something we're developing right now. I went the wrong way. Here we go. And that's really just about it. I do want to welcome you to try and communicate with us. My Filecoin on the Filecoin Slack handle is Stuberman, but please don't direct message me because we like to have open discussion where everyone can talk and everyone can learn from each other. So we'd love to have people join us and learn more. There's lots of community events happening on Twitter and Reddit. We had a big conference in Austin, Texas recently. There's some in Europe. There's some in Singapore. They're all over the world. I'm sure in Africa as well. So we'd like to welcome you, and I'll be happy to take any questions now.
Okay, questions. Thank you so much. Yes, could we just check, Shola, could you just check the YouTube for questions? And Stuart just told us about the program coming up in October, and I want us to see how we could take advantage of that for all investors on the building. For those joining us online, please just drop your questions regarding the lectures, and should have Stuart in the next 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, we do see, we at ESPA, we do see investors who are interested in the Filecoin program come and just learn about the basics. During the boot camp, it's 3 full days of learning and building relationships and trying to figure out, what this all means. The full ESPA program for people that want to become storage providers lasts about 8 or 9 months. Mostly self-paced online learning with consulting from our end. But again, for folks that just want to understand it so they can maybe build applications or become an investor, we've had a lot of serious interest from other organizations that just want to learn more about it. So it's an intense process, but it's great fun too. So I see there's a question here about, will the servers be warehoused in Africa? Well, the storage providers are independent operators. Nobody tells you where or what to do. You look at what your opportunity is. For instance, I worked with people I met at ESPA, and they're based in Canada, and they've decided to sell storage to the Canadian government. And the Canadian government says the data has to be processed and stored in Canada. So their servers will be in Canada. But it depends on your customer base. There's no reason you couldn't take deals from all over the world. Some clients care about where their data is stored. Right now, there's some reluctance to store data in China and some other countries because of the political regulations there. But it's really up to you. You want something that's reliable in terms of power, and will be up all the time. You really don't want to take your servers or internet offline at all. So you want it really to be up as much as possible. That help? That answer your question?
Awesome. That question has been answered. Do we have any from YouTube, Shola?
I see there's a question about how do we handle disaster recovery. So there's certainly different layers of disaster recovery. So most customers want to ensure that their data is stored in multiple storage providers across the world. Some will say, I want to have a copy in Europe, a copy in Africa, a copy in the United States or North America, a copy in Asia. So that's the first step in terms of protecting the customer. Now, we as Picnic, we will either make a backup of the data so that we can replace a bad sector, or we can negotiate with somebody else who's holding a copy, a replica, to transfer it back to our system. As a business, of course, you've got to always think about disaster recovery. What happens if I have a problem with my data center? There was a huge operation in China, and a building burnt down, and they lost a small fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fill and hardware. So, like our disaster recovery plan is to have geographic dispersion, have multiple data centers in different parts of the United States at this point, and eventually in other parts of the world. But we're really focusing on North America today.
Awesome. Okay. For now, we don't have any questions.
Well, you can always reach out to me, Enoch, and I can try to answer you, to forward it on to others if they're not, in the Filecoin Slack channels. So I'll be glad to, do any kind of follow up as people might weigh in.
Great. So, Swat, thanks so much for spending such a quality time with us and opening eyes to what Python storage is about. We can't wait to have you live here in Africa, and could be here in Nigeria, South Africa, or any part of the country within Africa. I will definitely reach out to you after this. So,
okay, I look forward to talking.
And enjoy your day. So from me
Thank
in
you very
Lagos, we're
much.
saying,
Thank you. I need to run to get another call. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
So guys, we'll be going for the next segment, and Shola will be taking us a little bit. Shola, are you there? Okay, let's just take some 5-minute break to refresh yourself while the next speaker comes online. So for all our online participants, you're also welcome once again to Field Storage Providers Meetup happening here in Lagos. We just took some 3-4 minutes break, and we'll be having Shola to take us on. If I can, Shola, are you there? Can you hear me? So while we wait for him to join, I set this offline.
Yes, I can.
We've had like 3 cohorts.
Abimbola, actually.
It's actually an enterprise storage program accelerator happening in US, and then the next one will be in October. So it's actually an opportunity for those who are interested into the storage providing business to come in and join the incubation for like 7 to 9 months, and you could be funded to start up your business. So the application is still on. If you want more details, you could actually reach out to us directly via email on WhatsApp. So let's have Shola take Shola, over to you.
All right, can you hear me? Good day. Hi, can you hear me?
Also, I can see you, Shola.
Okay. What about the audio?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you just go on? Over to you. Take charge.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, my name is Abimbola, and I'm going to be presenting my screen now. Just give me a second. All right. I think you should be able to see my screen now. Can I get a confirmation, please?
Sure, we can see your screen.
Okay. Hi, sorry, can you hear me? I think I lost connection for this.
Sure, we could hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, so where I stopped before was the forms of storage, which is the centralized and the decentralized storage. So the centralized storage, it comes with its own
We can't see your
advantages and
screen.
disadvantages. Oh,
Your screen.
sorry. Okay. How about now?
Okay, that's fine.
So can you? Okay. So we have the centralized storage and the decentralized storage. The centralized storage is basically the one that is being managed by central authority. Forms of decentralized storage is like the Google Drive we have, most of us use these days. So Google Drive, basically, it's being managed by Google. All your data are stored there. So, and we also have the decentralized storage. With decentralized storage, what is the major advantage of using decentralized storage is because there's high throughput for using a decentralized storage. There's no central point of failure while using the decentralized storage. That is, different nodes have the same copy of your data. With that, you can be assured of that your data are safe. So, and we have IPFS and Filecoin as a leading storage provider. What is Filecoin? Filecoin basically is a peer-to-peer network that stores files with built-in economic incentives to ensure that files are stored reliably over time. The previous speaker mentioned on the cryptocurrency being used to incentivize the storage provider on the network, which is the field currency. That's what is. So there are different ways. I'm going to get that on the next slide. You can participate as a user on the Filecoin network or as a storage provider. And the Filecoin network is designed in a secure way so that it helps to store a lot of important information that are valuable to humans. And each node of Filecoin you see, it works like an IPFS node under the hood. And this help ensure that your data are safe and secure. So how the Filecoin works? So peers communicate over a secure channel that they use to distribute information to the network, to transfer data among themselves and to discover other peers. So,
Excuse me.
sir, okay.
Could you share your screen again? We can't see your screen. Thank you. It's fine, we could see your screen. Hello, are you having any challenge? Anybody there?
I think we lost him.
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. That's what I'm saying. I said I think we lost him.
you. Uh,
I can hear you.
Hello, been bites today.
Yes, sir. I'm here. So, hi, Badna. Can you see my screen? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. So each Filecoin node that you use actually works like an IPFS node on the node. And this helps ensure that your data are still stored safely and secured. So, and how the Filecoin
We
works
can't
is
hear
that
you.
there's network. You can't hear me. Can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen. Okay.
Okay. All right. So as I was saying, so we have the network, the five coins, and a lot of stuff that combines together and works hand in hand to make the Filecoin protocol more secure. So peers communicate over secure channels that they use to distribute information to network together and transfer information among each other. So this, the fact that Filecoin and IPFS is decentralized, it means that they are different. It does not have to be that you are
Are you there?
restricted to a geographical location for you to be able to access it. So once you are on the network, it gives you access to participate and validate storage or that
Okay, we lost Bimbo. And, he was
Bluetooth has been disconnected.
so he was actually taking us on
Bluetooth has
On
been
in-
connected.
he was actually taking us on the benefit of using IPFS and Filecoin, and we've not been able to, I guess, the network from his end. But let me just continue from here. As an individual or incorporated entities, we usually have the need to store some information and data, and by doing that, we either normally you have your normal storage device like a flash and stuff like that. If you want to take it to the cloud, you now look for services like AWS, Google, where you store your information. But right now, as we all know, the whole the ecosystem is kind of advancing. So we now have now have what we call the Web3. We have the Web 1, we have the Web 2, and we have the Web 3. So, and when you talk about the Web 3, it's simply decentralized, where authorities is being taken away from it's been taken away from creators, and it's actually in the hands of consensus, different nodes like that. But normally right now we are in the centralized era. Centralized, that we have control over our storage. So we Filecoins and IPFS, we are promoting decentralized storage. So it's one thing if you building your dApps, your decentralized applications. There's another thing you saving it, storing it in and on a decentralized storage service, which I was speaking with one of us here for you and I to have a 100% decentralized application. It must be saved on a decentralized storage. So we have Filecoin, and that's what we're actually promoting. So Filecoin is a peer-to-peer network that stores files. You just have to know peer-to-peer network that stores files. It's built it's one thing about when you come into the system, you're being paid for storing information in the platform. So with built-in economic incentives to ensure files are stored reliably over time. Okay. Just a minute. Stefan is here. I was on Google. Okay. So while I was sharing with you, Stefan Vivet is actually the head of storage provider, Filecoin storage provider in the US. So he wants to, he's taking over from here now. So let me just allow him, just permit me his progressions. So while awesome. Okay, thank you for the mic. So while we wait for him to join, so simply definition of Filecoin is a decentralized storage network designed to store humanity and most important information. Each Filecoin node operates as an IPFS node under the hood. They help ensure that your data are made easily available for requests. Okay. One last question. So you want to know how it works now, the network. All right. The network. PS. Okay, how Ficon works. Peer communicate over secure channels that they are used to distribute information to the network, transfer data among themselves, and to discover other peers, maintaining a well-connected swarm in which information like blocks and message flows swiftly, even when many thousand peers participated. That's the network. When you talk about decentralized storage, you have a lot of nodes, dispersed all over, and there is communication in between. I'm trying to get a speaker right now. So
I am here. Can I proceed?
yes, you can, please. Stephen, are you there? Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear. Hey, how are you?
Okay, we are very happy to have you and to the Field Storage Meetup here in Africa, Lagos. And before now, we've had Stuart from Picnic, and we also have Abimbola, but the network has been very, very poor from his end. I could just hold on for you to just take over because I know you're very, very busy. So guys, my boss is actually privileged we're opportunity to have him right now. So he will be, giving us a pep talk, deep dive for the next 15 minutes or so. Can you just hold your question so you just ask it afterwards? Right, I need to stop. Am I stopping? Okay.
There you go. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining, and sorry for the delay. My name is Stefan Vervat. I run the storage provider ecosystem growth here at Protocol Labs. So basically at Protocol Labs, we have different leaders, and I'm responsible for all the storage providers and helping you grow your business on the Filecoin network. I'm based out of the US. And by the way, does the sound come through? Can you hear me? Just thumbs up if you can hear me. Just to
Yes,
make sure.
it's clear here.
All right, perfect. So basically, what is happening in the space, right? What I want to do is just a quick overview on why it's so important today more than ever to participate in the Filecoin network and help our customers with storing real data. So one, data is exploding over the next 5 years. I think we all know that. What's even more important is that the majority of that data that's being created is stored for 80% in cloud storage providers, or Amazon, Google, Microsoft, the real large entities. And so if you know that data will grow by 3 times, so by 2025, we'll see a 3x growth between 2020 and 2025, which means data is growing exponentially. I mean, it's growing 30 to 40% year over year. It's a huge opportunity for us to go after this market. And second, a lot of the data that's being generated is really enterprise data. So those are good paying customers. And so that's why there's a great opportunity to create a business here that allows you to capture that data and also take back margin and take back control when it comes to creating actual revenue and profit. Because the cloud providers, they actually reduce your margins, and they squeeze these current managed service providers that are out there. So if you are trying to compete against Amazon or Google or Microsoft or any other larger institute, it's really hard to compete on price or to compete in efficiency or compete on differentiation. And with Filecoin, you actually get all of these because you're tapping into an ecosystem that allows you to not only scale or take advantage of the scale of economies of scale, but also it allows you to differentiate because you have a immutable decentralized stack that allows you to store data like NFTs that other cloud providers cannot offer. And we're seeing more and more customers being upset or annoyed with these cloud providers because they feel their data is being controlled and they have expensive egress costs when customers want to move the data out of the cloud into, let's say, a different location or bring it back on premises, right, in their own data centers. So you as a business, if you're looking to become a storage provider, the upside here, the benefit here is that, a couple of things. We will help you in subsidizing your business through block rewards, which Stu probably shared with you. But also, too, you're part of a bigger ecosystem that helps you and that will allow you to offer, disaster recovery, or you can be the disaster recovery for other storage providers or other customers that are using other storage providers. So there is like this win-win situation where in the ecosystem, the storage providers very actively collaborate. And so there is an understanding that the success of you as an individual business is dependent on the success of the network. And therefore, a ton of storage providers are collaborating globally to help each other. Today, we're seeing data that's captured in the US being copied to Australia and Europe, and those storage providers in those regions that have the connections with that customer or with those storage providers in the US, they actually benefit from that and they will make money on storing those extra copies. And so can you in Africa, even though network connectivity may sometimes be a bottleneck. Still, having extra copies overseas on separate continents does help from a disaster recovery perspective. So what is the opportunity we're going after? Well, there's two massive markets right now, and obviously we'll continue to improve the performance of the network. But today we're seeing a ton of archive and backup. That's by itself a $30 billion business by 2025. And all this data is currently stored either on tape or it's stored in the cloud. And the second one is Web3 data, of course, where we see metaverse, NFT, gaming, data DAOs, all the above, basically any digital asset that's being protected or stored or has to be stored. And it was created by a decentralized Web3 stack is a perfect target for us to go after. And so today we have a ton of NFT marketplaces and we have a ton of users or applications that are being built on top of Filecoin. So when we look at backup and archive, we're seeing multiple users and enterprise customers coming online because they have this massive problem that data that's being stored on tape is subjective to data loss. So if you don't recover or read your tapes every 3 months, 3 years, and validate it for data loss, you may end up losing, certain bits or bytes from your data set. And when you are a researcher that's very heavily dependent on these data sets to find new insights or analytics purposes, this could be detrimental. And so that's a major issue in storing data on tape. Even though it's very cheap, it's also not accessible very well. And so it takes a long time for you to retrieve that data. And so when you're doing analytics, these customers want to have access more rapidly. So within a matter of minutes or seconds versus days sometimes. And so what is the solution? Well, of course, Filecoin is a good solution there because we do we provide verifiable and immutable storage. So you're guaranteed that your data is verified on a daily basis and it has not been changed because it's a fully decentralized stack. Plus, you can create multiple copies for faster retrieval and the cryptographic hashing that is enforced in our Filecoin incentive layers is enforcing the storage providers like yourself to provide a good SLA, meaning keeping your servers up and running so customers can retrieve it. If you don't do that, you actually lose you will lose block rewards, you will actually lose money. So, the system itself has been built in a way that we can really deliver an open marketplace where anyone can contribute and participate and make money, and at the same time also provides a certain minimum level of SLA to our end customers. The second one is the NFT marketplace. Most of you here probably have seen a lot of applications there, or probably have bought NFTs, as all of us have done in the last couple of years. But here as well, the problem is slightly different. If you are storing an ape and it's worth $500,000 or maybe even a couple of $1 million, depends now. The challenge is that these NFT marketplaces are storing those digital copies in the cloud, and if let's say that cloud account gets hacked, or the storage or the NFT marketplace stops paying their bills, then as a user, you may not be able to get access to your NFTs anymore. And so what we are doing is we are the backbone for all these major NFT marketplaces, and we protect, we are basically almost like the custodian for the NFT archives, so that you as a user can still access your NFT through the Filecoin platform. And so it prevents you from losing your on-chain NFT. And we stored it in a decentralized way, so we can guarantee immutability, same benefits there. And so we ensure it's tamper-proof and secure. All right, so here's some examples. Berkeley, we just announced this last week. This was a particular use case where a researcher was collecting research data for discovery of black holes, the Big Bang theory, and exploding stars. So this is where they're collecting mind-bending elements. It's very specific, and when you talk to that researcher, which I did, he was like, look, a single byte can make a big difference to us in making our decisions or finding insights. And so it's really important that the data is consistent, doesn't have any data loss. And there's multiple research teams involved across the globe that are collaborating on these same data sets. And so for him, data shouldn't be centralized, but should be copied across multiple locations. So here's perfect example where you see large use cases, large data sets, and we're talking about hundreds of terabytes, and eventually next year this will turn into petabytes. So we actually are seeing customers today that are bringing that have exabyte problems, meaning they generate exabytes of data on a yearly basis, and they're looking at storing multiple tens of petabytes to start. So the opportunity is huge, because now in a downtime, in a bear market, this is where our customers are also forced to look at alternative solutions, because their budgets will be very strapped, and there will be more of an opportunity for them to look at new ways of storing data, or new ways of managing data. And I think it's an opportunity for all of you in this room to look at that as an opportunity to build your business, because it's in downturns that new applications are built, and opportunities are created. So we're excited about what's going to come next, and we see a huge growth not only in private data but also in public data. So all of you have probably seen, obviously, right, the unfortunate events in Ukraine, and so we have worked with the Starling Foundation to store these war events, or these images and recordings that have been collected over the last couple of months, to store those on Filecoin forever, so that there's no debate in the future that this event ever happened. And so this is a big part of our initiative as well. It's not just to protect data for enterprise customers, but also public data sets, and protecting humanity's most important information, so we can protect our future, and ensure that things do not happen again, or at least we can demonstrate to the world what has happened in the past. So Filecoin in review, we continue to grow, which is amazing. Last week we had an event in Austin, and we had, just at our event alone, we did a Filecoin event. We had more than 500 people. We had to actually decline people because the location that we had reserved did not have enough capacity. But in general, awesome adoption from our developer ecosystem. We have more than 10,000 contributors on GitHub, which means that right now we are one of the most actively deployed blockchain protocols that are out there. And then if you look at how many projects are being built, which is another strong indicator for us to identify whether our chain is actively used, we actually went up by 11x. So beginning of 2021, we had 40 projects that were built on Filecoin. Today we have more than 450 in the pipeline, and those are all projects that are funded in a certain stage, meaning we're not including all the thousands of hackathon projects that were not selected. We're actually zooming in on those projects that were selected, were funded through grants, through VC investments, or angel investment, et cetera. And you can see the different stages. So what is this? This is another indicator of the strong tooling and applications that are now starting to create data, and that's coming into the network, which is amazing. And we have a whole bunch of applications that we can share with you. If you, by the way, want to see what all the applications are, go to ecosystem.filecoin.io. The second part is the storage capacity. So the storage capacity has grown to 17 EB, which is about 1% of the total cloud storage capacity in 2021, which is amazing. We have seen a tremendous growth, and we continue to see CC sectors coming online. Now, today, I'll tell you that with the current market dynamics, most of our storage providers are focusing on actively storing real data. The main reason there is that as you store real data, you actually can apply for Filecoin Plus data cap. And Filecoin Plus is a multiplier where you as a storage provider can make 10 times more block rewards if you store real data. And so the majority of our ecosystem right now has been focused on bringing real customers and they apply, of course, for Filecoin Plus because they can get that 10x multiplier. So it's amazing to see now, and I'll show you some numbers in a second on how much capacity is coming online. And overall, what have we seen in the last year? And this is why I'm actually really excited about Africa, because last year, we were predominantly in China, America, and Europe. And since then, we have seen a tremendous growth outside of China. Today, we have, I think, more than 400 SPs in Korea. We have an extensive growth in Japan, in Singapore. We see Malaysia, and of course, all across Europe, and a very strong growth in the US. And so I'm really excited about adding more storage providers in Africa, because we have actually gotten some requests to see like, hey, what's the status in Africa? There is a lot of collaboration between international companies that are trying to go into emerging regions. And I think in Africa, we are currently still under saturated. So there's an opportunity for you as a member to join our team and grow the ecosystem in Africa and provide all those services. So for example, we have application developers that are designing applications for emerging countries, and they want to run on top of Filecoin in those emerging countries. So again, those are all opportunities. We have a ton of data centers, and as you can see, we have a ton of unique applications. These are data sets. So we have the New York City open data sets. So open data sets, what we're seeing here is that you can go to your local governments, communities, cities, et cetera, and communal, and can help them store their open data sets onto the network. If you have any open data sets, you can here as well apply for Filecoin Plus data cap and get compensated with free Filecoin Plus data cap, which means that you will actually benefit from this and get this 10x multiplier. So you as a storage provider can bring the customer to the network, get compensated for that, and also store extra copies with your other storage providers. As you can see, we have multiple NFT marketplaces, Web2 customers, genome data. If you are working with local research institutes, please reach out to them. Use our examples. We have a ton of case studies as well that we promote on our blogs. And if you need any help, you can reach out to us. So just looking back at the last 6 months, so I want to explain what happened a year ago. As I mentioned, we were very focused on building out the infrastructure of the network. So a lot of storage providers came on board and deployed real hardware, committed storage, committed CC sectors. And then we changed in December, and this is the event in December, we changed our incentive program, and we made the rules, we made it easier for customers and storage providers like yourself to apply for these Filecoin Plus data cap units. And so, as you can see, and also the combination of Filecoin price dropping has kind of focused more of the SPs to focus on bringing real customer data to the network. So what you're seeing here is really this growth, exponential growth. And so in 6 months, we went from 20 PIBs, 20 pebibytes of data to more than 106 pebibytes. And so every day we're ingesting more than 1 pebibytes of data into the network of real user data, which is amazing worldwide. Our goal is to increase this to hopefully 5. That is the goal. And our goal is to get close to 400 pebibytes later this year, which is a 4x increase. But again, we are making a tremendous amount of progress. Every single day we're growing. The network is growing and is also becoming stronger, meaning there's more relationships between SPs and they're collaborating on storing that data. So definitely check out Filecoin Plus. If you don't know how to apply for it, we have people that can help you with this. But check out philplus.info, where you'll see the information on the notaries, and also follow the guidelines on GitHub on how to apply for a grant. And you can also, there's a lot of videos online as well. I recommend to go to YouTube too and look for Filecoin Plus, because there's a ton of YouTube. Then there is as a new storage provider, we also help our storage providers with new deals, meaning if you don't have, let's say, customers yet, but you do want to store real data, then go to evergreen.filecoin.io. This is a program that is running today, where you can, as a storage provider, you can actually take deals from other regions, and typically these are open data sets that are being replicated, because some of our storage providers in China are moving overseas or expiring that data, and you can take that data set over, and by doing that, you'll get access to this 10x multiplier. So even today, even let's say you don't have a sales team, you don't have an actual end customer, you can start storing real data today by going to evergreen.filecoin.io. Okay, so where do you stay updated? We have a ton of new technologies and landing pages that really focus in on these technologies. One of them is our FVM. So as most of you know, if not, here's a quick update. We are building a virtual machine, and this virtual machine will be EVM compatible. So what does that mean? That means that by the end of this year, when we come out with this FVM, you will be able to run ERC20 tokens on top of Filecoin. So Filecoin will be more than just a decentralized storage stack. Now you'll also be able to support smart contracts. And why is that important? That is important because we currently see multiple applications obviously using smart contracts. And so you have to run it either on Polygon or Ethereum or maybe other stacks. And you have to go across, 2 chains, where if we come out with FVM, you can run this on the same chain, and our gas fees are extremely low. So that opens up a whole new opportunity for applications that could use Filecoin instead of another layer 1, and that will drive up Filecoin demand, that will drive up Filecoin usage, and that's all goodness for all of us. So our goal here is to expand our use cases so that you as a provider not just are storing real data, but you're also supporting smart contracts as part of your infrastructure. So we will come out with this by the end of this year. You can see the roadmap here. If you want to know more details on how to collaborate with FVM, go to fvm.filecoin.io. There's a little bit of a background noise, but as long as you let me know if you cannot hear it. The other recommendation to stay up to date is to check out the engineering roadmap. If you go to YouTube, you can actually see a playlist for all the engineering all hands meetings. So what we've also done in the last couple of months is we are. Sorry, was there a question? Okay, sorry. I thought I heard something. So the PL engineering roadmap can be found on YouTube. If you want to hear more information on, as a storage provider, on where to find video content or grant programs that we have running, go to sp.falcon.io. We have a Filecoin storage provider mentorship program now. This is new. So let's say you want to get started, you have questions around the ROI, you have questions around the hardware configuration that you want to implement, and you need some support, then go to sp.falcon.io and click on the Filecoin Storage Provider Mentorship Program and find the button to apply. There is actually some free hours of consulting that we provide to everyone in the ecosystem that will help you in taking the next step to become a storage provider. And of course, if you want to take it a step further, you can also apply for one of the accelerator programs. And also, we have a lot of video content on the Filecoin Storage Provider Bootcamp modules, which exists of more than 40 hours. I think it's 46 hours of content of existing training modules that we've created for the accelerator program. And it's pretty wide. It's more than just how to run and operate a miner, but it's also about how to sell and what to look out for when you're even raising capital, which is a very common question these days. If you want to participate, join to our endoffail.org storage provider calendar, have a look. If you want to organize events, as the team here did today, which is amazing, we love these. We are now going on the road more often. So we did an event in Austin, we'll do an event in Toronto, we'll do an event in Korea, we'll do an event in Singapore, then Lisbon. As you can tell, we are very actively engaged in person now as well, because we have received a ton of requests to be more active in the field, because people want to meet with us, and also people want to meet with other developers and other builders and storage providers in the ecosystem. So more than happy to meet with the team in person. All right, so with that, I'm going to open it for questions. Any questions that you have, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself, and I'll see if I can help you address those questions.
Great. Yeah, question time. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone, any question or comments?
How coin is under the Ethereum network? Like it's stored this is video on Ethereum network, right? Hello.
Are you asking? Okay.
Yeah, I'm asking the question that I can see it means it's definitely under the Ethereum network. So are we saying our files, both Filecoin and the people in charge of Ethereum network, we have our files? What exactly? How do we know our files are really secure when they are split into two, Filecoin and? Oh, I'm not getting something.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. These are two different organizations.
Okay.
Filecoin is a different organization. Stephen, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I cannot hear the question. I didn't hear the question very well.
Are you saying something?
Bluetooth mode. Bluetooth has been connected.
Yeah. Would you mind repeating the question? I couldn't hear it.
You want to answer that question?
No. Can you repeat the question, because I couldn't hear it?
I actually have two questions. The first is the Filecoin. It works under the Ethereum network, right?
Wait, no. Let me see if I can answer the question. So what I heard was the Filecoin works on the Ethereum network. No, Filecoin is a layer 1, right? So we we are totally separate from Ethereum. We collaborate with applications that run their minting on Ethereum but store their NFTs on Filecoin, or we collaborate and integrate with, let's say, Chainlink, or so we are a completely separate layer. We really focus on storing data. And if you look at any application that's being built today, somewhere the data needs to be stored. The data doesn't get stored in the chain. Actually, only hashes get stored in the chain, but our storage providers will ensure that your data is protected. And so we're complementary to Ethereum. But what I was saying earlier is that
you've answered the first question. And moving forward, this program, like, will it be incorporated into apps that, let's say, if an app needs a file storage system, they can come to you, you can migrate your storage to them? Like, assuming I'm having a mobile app that I do service for people and I need to store storage, can I incorporate my mobile app to your file storage system, that through my app you can?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share what you would use for that. So let me show you. Let me share my screen quickly. Give me 1 second. There you go. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So basically, Filecoin is the storage layer. Then on top of that, you have storage on-ramps that are developed specifically to help developers like yourself to move data into the Filecoin network. And so I recommend you to look at nft.storage, web3.storage, and estuary.tech. nft.storage is a on-ramp that we've built specifically for developers to store NFTs on Filecoin. And so a lot of the marketplaces, the NFT marketplaces, are using this. Web3.storage is more a general SDK for any application that's looking to store any type of data set into Filecoin. And estuary.tech is very similar. And then, of course, we have integrations with Pinata and Textile. On top of that, right, you can decide which decentralized stack, layer one, you want to use, whether it's Ethereum or Near or Hedera, or you name it, right? And then, of course, your web app, your Web3 app, or your Web2 app will, depending on how deeply it's integrated in Web3, will use any of these stacks. So today, I would recommend go to web3.storage and go check out nft.storage, and you'll see a whole set of training materials and how to use our SDK to store data in Filecoin.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm now clear.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for asking the question.
All right, thanks a lot. Any other questions? Okay, fine. Come over. Come on.
Hello, my question is, what does it take to become a Filecoin? What does it take to be part of the Filecoin network?
How much does it cost? Or
in general, what does it take? How much does it cost?
Yeah, if you want to become a storage provider?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it could, you can get started from $50,000 to $100,000 in hardware and pledge all the way to a couple of, millions of dollars, of course. But you can start, like, as even though the code will say you need a minimum of 10 terabytes, right? Today, it's not profitable if you start with 10 terabytes. Today, we're seeing like the sweet spot is a couple of hundreds of terabytes. Ideally, like half a petabyte would be great. That's where you're seeing some better returns. So, you know, that will cost you $50,000, sometimes less if you have refurbished hardware. So what I would recommend is that if you're interested, apply for the grant program, and then they will do an assessment with you and tell you, you know, give you all the answers to your technical questions, and also share some recommendations on hardware. You can already look, we have some hardware configurations already posted on GitHub, so you can find those there as well. And in the recordings as well, you'll actually see in one of the recording sessions in the bootcamp materials, you'll actually see 2 sessions that focus on the architecture. So I would have a look at that as well, because the person, the SP that's doing that training, that video, he actually will show you what the minimum config is that he recommends, and then how you scale up. The ROI, the return, is depending on a lot of factors. We have on our sp.falcon.io website a ROI calculator, so you can plug in your numbers based on the current price of today and based on the hardware cost. Let me see if I can show you. So let me share my screen. So if you go to our sp.falcon.io website, you go here on estimate your returns, and this is your this is a calculator that shows you what your storage provider return is. And here you can add in, you can see, for example, depending on the cost, right? These are your total investments, and then you can see your total profits, your revenue, and you can see you can change it in US dollars or fill, right? You can see what and so the inputs that you have to give is the total, the network, right? Network assumptions, meaning I would recommend to keep this the same, like don't change it, but change your storage provider business assumptions. Meaning here you can say, I'm going to start with, let's say 100 terabytes, or change it. This is in petabytes, but let's say you start with 100 terabytes. Then the question is, how fast can you seal? Actually, most of our SPs will now be starting at a petabyte. And then it depends on how fast you seal and how much stored Filecoin Plus data you store. So Filecoin Plus data, I know there's a little bit more, I have to look into it, but Filecoin Plus is really how much user data that you're going to store. We have some SPs that are at 90%, meaning you have a petabyte of capacity and you fill it up with a petabyte of data. So it kind of depends. And the reason why you want to do that is because you get higher block rewards. So if let's say I have 100% filled up with real data, your return will be much higher than if you're not storing any data at all. So what I recommend is that you play around with this calculator and change some of the numbers. And you know, if you have any questions, like I said, go to the sp.falcon.io. So let me show you again, sp.falcon.io. And here you can actually apply. Here is the Filecoin Storage Provider Mentorship Program. So if you apply for this, you can apply here. And this will allow you, like, you fill out your information. What's the nature of your operation? I'm a storage provider. And then, you know, what's your stage of operation? I want to explore, right? What's your name? And then you fill in your email address. Is there anything else you want to know? And then someone will reach out. You can set up a booking. Actually, you can schedule a booking. And then someone will reach out and will talk to you and walk you through your questions. And, you know, then you can kind of look at together with that person through the ROI calculator, or you can talk about hardware, because it's a longer conversation. But yeah. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Hello, Stefan.
Hey there. How are you?
All right. I'm Mui from Kanza Finance. We just got into the ESPA program.
Wow, congrats.
That's going in Las Vegas. Thank you very much. I have a few questions concerning the Evergreen and the storing, because I came in late to this session. So when you say we could store open data for like other governments and stuff in different geographical locations, will any latency affect the quality of the storage or retrieval?
Is your question related to latency? Meaning, are you?
Yes. I'm concerned about latency. Let's say, for example, now, some government in China or some open data in China, we get those deals and then we're storing it here. Would there be any latency or reduction in service based on the geographical distance? Or
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Right now, the latency is directly dependent on the connection between the client and, of course, yourself. And so it depends on the use case, because in archive, what we're seeing is latency is not as much of an issue. It is more, like, for example, if it's stored on tape, it will take sometimes days to get that data off. If you have it online, even though it may take minutes or hours, it's still a lot faster. And so what customers are doing is they're storing multiple copies, one with you in Africa, let's say, one with, an SV in Europe. And they typically will store a copy more locally to where they actively know that they're going to use it for. So, only in a disaster recovery event, when, let's say, the first data center is completely gone and they no longer have a local copy, will they come back to, let's say, a copy that is stored in Africa with you? And in that case, just being able to retrieve, even if it takes, hours, is a lot better than, one, losing their full data set, or two, not being able to access it because it's stored on tape somewhere in a vault. So I think, it all depends on the use case. So we have, as storage providers as well, that cache the data in an unsealed format. So what they do is they have the sealed data, and then they have a full copy just sitting on a cache because the customer is willing to pay for that, or the customer wants to have, fast retrieval, and it was just agreed as part of the contract. So the importance there is that really identifying what is the requirement of your customer. So today, what we've done is we are building a retrieval market. So retrieval market is, a restore, services that are sitting on top of Filecoin that do intelligent caching, especially to reduce the latency that you're talking about. And if you want to know what's being built there, you can go to retrieval.market, and I'll just share my screen to show you. We have a whole initiative. If you go to retrieval.market, which has just started, but it's the idea is to create a decentralized CDN on top of Filecoin. So imagine you're a storage provider, you build out the infrastructure. On top of that, you can have these applications that are built on top of Filecoin with IPFS that provide faster retrieval services. And so on the bottom, you will see the applications that are currently being built, right? And so we have, I would recommend to have a look at Saturn. And Saturn is an open source version of a CDN, right? Just have a look. You can download it, you can play with it. Our goal is for the ecosystem to install this and then also make money by retrieving, or by being a Filecoin retrieval node, right? So it's an extra service that you can build on top of your system that will eventually, help you drive more revenue. And again, then the question is, what data should be cached versus what data should just be protected in Filecoin, more like an archive as an archive repository. So it's being built right now. You can see the architecture, you can see what the engineering team is working on, you can see the different cache layers, right, that they're building. So my recommendation is to have a look. So you'll notice that everything we do is public, so you can actually stay up to date. You can try the software. Yeah, but that is the goal of the whole retrieval market.
Thank you so much. I also have one more question. What would you say has been the best approach to meeting with enterprises to come on the network? Like, let's say I eventually become a full-fledged Falcon provider out here, and I want to start reaching out to, banks and huge transactional institutions to store their data on the network. What would you say has been the most successful approach in showing the positives and advantages of Falcon, which are very clear, over like Google Cloud or stuff like that right now?
Yeah. So my recommendation, well, a couple of things. One, go to. We still. Let me see. Let me show you something. So in general, the best approach is to focus on archive use cases for now in the traditional enterprise space, because as I just showed some examples earlier, right, the value really is more than cost, right? Even though cost is always an issue, it's more than just a lower cost. We see more and more customers that are that have felt the pain of moving data out of cloud. And so approaching customers with that story, like, hey, we have an alternative solution that is truly stored in an open format, meaning it is not proprietary. And you have, as a customer, the opportunity to move your data across these storage providers and without having to pay for egress costs, is a huge differentiator. And second, your data is verified and is immutable, which other solutions will actually charge you for that, or have a much more complex way to prove. In a lot of cases, it's much more complex. So where we've seen success is with departments within research institutes, or we have seen success with startups that are trying to they know they're going to generate a lot of data, and they need a storage repository. So for example, today we have seen startups that are trying to incentivize drone owners to capture the globe and then get paid for that, and then has to be stored somewhere. So you could go to startups and work with them and say, hey, I will store your data for free for a year and a half. You take that data and you file for a large data cap. And so with large data cap, you can get a 10x multiplier on Falcon Plus, which pays off the cost of storing that data. So my recommendation is, go in, have a look at the videos. We will also share the presentations. So we are working on a library. It's not finished yet. But our goal is to create a library of assets with sales presentations that you can then use to take with you to your customers, so that you don't have to start from scratch. Because if we find like a use case in US that works really well, like say UC Berkeley or New York City open data sets or genomic data sets, then we already have some slides right now that you can use, but we're going to make that available to the rest of the community, so you can point to that and you can say, look what they did in the US, or look what they did in Korea, and this is why. So, and the other thing I recommend is to share some of the reports that will be coming out. So we'll actually come out with some, with an IDC. We did a survey with IDC. So we're going to come out with a white paper there that kind of shows what enterprise customers are looking for, where their pain points are. And you can then use that as an example of like, hey, this is an external agency that's very well known worldwide. that's done research, and here is the reason why decentralized storage is a good fit for you as a company, and here's what it helps you with. So we're writing that up, so that should help you then as well as a external data point that you can show, and will build credibility for you to have that conversation.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, and congrats. I'm happy that you're joining us. That's awesome,
so
man.
hopefully by next month, ending of July, 2 of my team members will be out there in Vegas.
Nice. I'll be there as well, so probably meet in person.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Good luck. Thank you.
Good luck.
Stefan, thank you so much for pouring out a lot to us, and you'll be hearing much more from us here.
Absolutely.
So
thank you.
Continue. Let's allow you to have you to meet up your other engagement. Thanks from Lagos. Salute, boss.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for driving this. See you later.
Okay, we're bringing it to a close. We'll be meeting every month, and details will be forwarded to all your emails. And you have questions, you could just actually share with me and share with us. We're actually growing up, so feel free to be part of us. You have an idea, it's actually an opportunity for you to start your own business, and then you get some grants to start up. So I wouldn't want us to just take this opportunity lightly. Let's just take it with all seriously. So thanks so much for all our online viewers. You could subscribe to our YouTube channels, and so that you could get notifications for all our subsequent events. From here, thank you so much, and guys, saying that here. Bye. Yeah, do we need I was actually sharing a little bit about FICON. Maybe do you have any question on that? Do we continue, or are you cleared with what we've done today? I know some of us are just diving in right now, so it might not look so clear, but with time, you to be clearer. So, okay, so thanks so much. Dari, hi. Toby, hi. Could you say hello to us? Hello, guys. Can I see your can we see your faces, please?
Hello?
It seems you're driving.
Somebody